Over the past week, I've been testing 3 wireless chargers that I bought from Amazon. I'm going to send 2 of them back and I'm keeping 1. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I made that decision. The 3 wireless chargers that I've been testing are the Samsung Galaxy official wireless duo charging pad, the Nanami wireless charger for Samsung and iPhone, 10 watts, and the INIU wireless charger stand for Apple or Android, 15 watts. Okay, so if you're like me, you've probably wondered why wireless charging. I mean, a cable is usually faster, right? Well, for me, the answer became pretty clear after my last couple of phones. The USB-C charging port actually broke on both these phones, leaving me completely stuck when it came to powering up, therefore rendering the phone absolutely useless. That's when I realised, for my peace of mind and to protect future phones, that wireless charging needed to become my default. But then you dive into the world of wireless charging and it's just a confusing mess. Everyone's promising different things. Fast charging, super fast charging, different designs, unique features. So how do you cut through all that noise and actually pick the best wireless charger for you? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out in this video. Coming up, I have unboxed them, I've used them, and I've tested them, and I've now made my decision about which wireless charger I'm keeping. I am going to keep... Alright, let's kick things off with the first contender, the Nanami wireless charger stand. First impressions, it's got a clean minimalist design and it feels pretty solid in the hand. Comes in several colours, I chose white because it matches my desk. Wireless charging works using electromagnetic induction. There's a magnetic coil inside your phone which receives the charge, and there's a coil inside the charger which transmits it. With this Nanami wireless charger stand that I'm testing here, it actually has dual coil technology, which means there's 2 magnetic coils inside the stand which are transmitting that electrical charge. That means that you can position your phone either vertically or horizontally depending on the ideal view that you want to see. That dual viewing angle works really well for me because while I'm sat at my desk, I like to be able to see notifications, watch videos, or maybe even do a video call while it's charging. In terms of what you get for your money, the Nanami comes in at a really competitive price point, often around £15 to £20 on Amazon UK. And what about the specs? Well, this is a Qi certified charger, advertised as a 10 watt fast induction charger stand. Now, the word fast is very subjective and means different things depending on what product you're buying and what type of phone you have. Now, that is important because while this Nanami will deliver up to 10 watts for Android phones like my Samsung S24 Ultra, it is actually capped off at 7.5 watts for iPhones. This highlights a really key point about the all-important specs, because the advertised wattage isn't always a single number that applies to every phone. Now remember, the Nanami is a Qi certified wireless charger and as such is compatible with a huge range of different phones, from the iPhone 8 all the way up to the latest 16 series, and a massive list of Android devices including Samsung Galaxy, Google Pixel, Huawei, Xiaomi, and many more Qi-enabled devices. And what do we get in the box? Well, we get the stand itself, a USB-C to USB-A charging cable, and all the usual paperwork. But it's important to note that like many wireless chargers, this doesn't include a charging plug, so you'll have to supply one of these yourself. And whatever charging plug you get, make sure that it's higher than 10 watts so that you can benefit from the full speed that this charger is capable of delivering. So let's get down to brass tacks, performance. I tested this on my Samsung S24 Ultra with a starting charge of 15%. After charging wirelessly on the Nanami stand, it had risen to 25%, so a 10% increase, and after a full hour charging wirelessly, it had risen to 34%, so an increase of 19% charge within that time. The internal battery temperature of my phone after an hour's charge on the Nanami was a cool 29.9 degrees Celsius. If your battery temperature goes above 30 degrees for a prolonged period of time, then it can risk long-term damage. On paper, it might not look like the fastest charger, but this is where real-world use matters. The Nanami proved incredibly reliable. It always worked, whether my phone case was on or off. Now that is interesting because according to the Amazon listing, it says does not charge through metal phone cases or cases thicker than 5mm. But despite that warning, my experience testing it on my Samsung S24 Ultra with a case on was consistently positive. So the reliability for me went a long way. It also has handy little features like overcharging and over temperature protection, anti-slip feet, and a sleep-friendly LED indicator that shuts off after 10 seconds of charging. So while it's not a speed demon, the Nanami does offer a nice little package of reliability, good stand design, and keeping the battery nice and cool. Coming up, but the thing that really surprised me about the was just how difficult it was to get it to work. Next up, we've got the INIU wireless charger stand. Like the Nanami, it's a dual coil stand, so you can display your phone either vertically or horizontally. The INIU sits in that budget-friendly range and is actually a little bit cheaper than the Nanami at around £12. Now, let's talk about specs, because with this particular stand, it does get a little bit nuanced. This INIU charger is advertised as a 15-watt fast wireless charger stand, but that 15 watts isn't universal for all phones. For Samsung Galaxy phones, it's only actually designed to deliver 10 watts of charge, and for iPhones it will only deliver 7.5 watts, but for some LG phones it does indeed deliver 15 watts. So again, don't just look at the highest number, understand what it means for your specific phone. Like the Nanami, it's compatible with a huge range of Qi enabled Android and Apple devices. Inside the box, you'll find the stand itself, a USB-A to USB-C cable, and a printed booklet. You'll need to provide your own wall plug for this one as well, and whatever plug you use, make sure that it's powerful enough to support the charger's advertised output for your device. It also boasts features like NTC temp guard protection for battery safety. Another selling point is the sleep-friendly LED indicator, which dims at night. Personally, I didn't use it for a bedside, I used it for my office desk, so that point was a little bit moot for me. INIU even offer a 3-year care warranty, which is impressive for a budget charger like this. So let's have a look at the numbers from the test I did with my Samsung S24 Ultra. The starting charge again was at 15%. After 30 minutes, the INIU got up to 25% charge and 35% after a full hour. However, the internal battery temperature after 60 minutes charge was at 32 degrees Celsius, which was actually over 2 degrees hotter than the Nanami was after charging for the same amount of time. The INIU charger was a lot less reliable and user-friendly than the Nanami. In testing, I'd say I only managed to charge successfully about 1 time out of 6 with the phone case on. To be fair, it was fairly reliable when the phone case wasn't on, but I would find having to remove the case every time I wanted to charge it quite an unnecessary faff. This particular issue with the case is echoed when you look at the Amazon comments, with people lamenting fussy placement or doesn't work with my thick case. So while it's very affordable, has that dual coil stand design and some good safety features, it's harder to recommend the INIU if you're someone that doesn't plan to take their case off every time you want to charge it. Now, on to our final, fastest and most expensive contender. A very interesting one. Alright, finally, let's talk about the Samsung Wireless Charger Duo. This one comes from the brand itself and on paper looks like it's the winner. First impressions, it's definitely got that premium quality Samsung feel. Very sleek, well built, and it's got these little air vents on the bottom which give you that reassurance it's going to keep your battery nice and cool. The big selling point here is the Duo form factor. It's a pad that can charge your phone, but it also has a dedicated spot for another device, typically a Samsung Watch or earbuds. If you're deep in the Samsung ecosystem or you just have multiple devices to charge, this could well be the one for you. In terms of price, the Samsung is definitely the most expensive of the three, ranging in price from £40 to £60 or more on Amazon UK. Specs wise, it's a 15-watt Qi certified wireless charging pad on the phone side, and it's compatible with a wide array of Apple iPhones and of course Samsung Galaxy phones and other Qi enabled devices. And another positive for the Samsung Duo is that because you're paying that little bit extra, you also get a charging plug with it, unlike the other two. Now let's have a look at the numbers. With my Samsung S24 Ultra with a starting charge of 15%, the Samsung Duo was by far the fastest in terms of raw charge percentage. It hit 42% after just 30 minutes, and a whopping 74% after a full hour. However, in terms of the battery temperature, after a full hour's charge, the Samsung was actually the hottest of all three wireless chargers at 35.4 degrees Celsius. That does make me a bit concerned about the long-term health of my phone battery using the Samsung Duo to charge it wirelessly. But the thing that really surprised me about the Samsung Duo was just how difficult it was to get it to work. I had to plug in the USB-C cable several times to actually get the LED indicator to come on. And that was just a theme throughout the week that I was testing it. I'd have to unplug, plug in the USB-C cable. The other thing about it was that Samsung has magnetic alignment, which should make it a lot easier to start charging the phone. But I didn't really find that was the case in practice. It was actually hard work to get the phone to start charging. So a disclaimer, I didn't test the second pad because I don't have wireless earbuds or a watch to do so. So my experience with the unreliability of the Samsung Duos actually echoed in quite a lot of the Amazon comments, with people stating flashing lights or intermittent charging issues. Also, I mentioned that the battery temperature was the hottest of the three that I tried. And again, other Amazon users are saying the same thing, that it gets quite warm. So the big question, does paying more guarantee a better product? And in my experience of using the Samsung Duo, it certainly didn't guarantee a better product in terms of reliability or cooler charging. So you can have all the battery charging speed in the world, but if it's unreliable and ultimately damages your phone's battery because it's getting too hot, I just can't say that that's the best option. So the big moment. I have unboxed them, I've used them, and I've tested them, and I've now made my decision about which wireless charger I'm keeping. Drumroll please. I am going to keep the Nanami. Now you may think that's strange because it actually performed as the slowest charger. However, it was the most reliable. It always worked whether the case was on or whether the case was off. The internal temperature of the battery was the lowest compared to the other two after a full hour's charge. And to me that just means long term the battery is going to be taken care of and protected. But more than anything, it was just the convenience of being able to have a phone stand as opposed to a pad. Now the pad is great if you want to charge more than one thing. The only thing that I want to charge is a phone. I don't have earbuds, I don't have a watch. If I did want to charge more than one thing at a time, then the Samsung Duo might have had more sway. Of all three, despite the fastest charge time, the Samsung was the most unreliable. I often had to switch it off at the plug, switch it on again, unplug the cable from the back of the charging pad, plug it in again in order to make it work. The INIU was fairly reliable as long as the case wasn't on the phone. When the case was on the phone, I want to say it charged maybe one time out of 6. My phone's battery actually ran hottest when on the Samsung after a full hour's charging, and I just didn't want to take the risk of damaging the battery long term. One thing that I've learned through this process is that you'll never get as fast a charge as you will with a phone plugged directly into a cable as compared to wireless charging. The reason I wanted a wireless charger in the first place was that the last couple of phones I've had, actually the USB-C port broke, and so I was unable to charge the phone with a wired connection, and so therefore I wanted to protect the battery life and protect the USB-C port by using wireless charging as default. Well, I hope this video has been helpful to you, and if it has, why not consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.